Hello everyone and welcome to my highlight video for 2023. In this video, I'll be counting down my top 10 most meaningful runs of the year. I'm very proud of everything I've accomplished this year, so selecting just 10 runs was extremely difficult and ranking them was even harder. Feel free to let me know in the comments how you feel about the top 10 and if there was another run that you thought deserved a spot on this year's list. So without further ado, let's jump into my top 10 best of 2023. Number 10, Barren Ruins. Of all the sub goals I've achieved, for some reason I found this one the hardest. The only other sub I found more difficult than this was the Cortex Castle 145, but I ended up giving up on that. As Barren Ruins goes, I had no difficulty getting to a low 140, but going that one step further to the sub was extremely difficult for me. The biggest areas I had to focus on was the first spiral, which I'm still terrible at, and the final spiral that I never quite understood. This may not be one of my top 10 best times, but achieving something that I found so difficult definitely deserved a spot in my top 10. Number 9, Papu's Pyramid. There are some tracks that prior to this year I didn't enjoy, but have now taken a strong liking to. Papu's is one of those tracks. Reserves are tricky and I never knew how to do the final shortcut. Once I learned the shortcut, this was actually a very enjoyable track to time trial. With the splits I had for Papu's, I was expecting a slightly better time, but in the end I was happy enough to achieve the sub while I was still enjoying the track. Number 8, Out of Time. About halfway through the year, I decided to take a break from CTR, and I wasn't sure if I would return. For whatever reason, Out of Time was the track that I really wanted to play and brought me back. I'm very happy with most of this run. The only major slip up was getting a slow landing after the first cut lap 2, which to be honest, I don't really know how to get the faster landing, so it was total luck whenever I would get it. I'm so glad this track brought me back because after achieving this time, I went on to have a very successful second half of the year. Number 7, Dingo Canyon, the first track on this list to reappear from last year's highlights. I'm sure some of you probably expected this one to be ranked higher, and to be honest, so did I. I had high hopes of pushing the 5X, but I lost a lot of motivation, so I decided I would settle with the first run that I closed and ended up with this time. I still think Dingo Canyon would be one of my strongest tracks in the game. I'm not particularly great at the shortcut, but my lines are probably the strongest I have on any track. Number 6, the Turbo Track and Retro Stadium Duo. I love these tracks. I'm unsure what my favourite track in the game is right now, but these two would go close to being number 1. Halfway through the year I got the 125 on Turbo, and when I started playing again I decided to go for the 125 on Retro as well. If I had to decide which of these two I liked more, I'd probably say Retro Stadium just for the aesthetic appeal. And I also feel like the hairpins are a bit more forgiving, but definitely don't quote me on that one. I'm super proud to have achieved the 125 on both these tracks, and it's a pretty funny coincidence to have ended up with the exact same time. Number 5, Spyro Circuit. This is probably one of my best runs on this list. In fact, it's just 3 frames from my best splits. I'm still missing a bit of precision and the final spiral definitely needs some work, but overall, I'm very happy with this run. Optimizing the reserves was the other thing I found tricky about Spyro Circuit. This was a sub goal that I had for a very long time, but my skill level had always held me back. So once I was good enough, I set myself the goal of getting the 7X, not actually expecting I'd be able to get it. Number 4, Nina's Nightmare. Some of you probably remember in last year's highlights video me saying something like, my ultimate goal in CTR is a 139 on this track. So why is this ranked number 4 and not number 1? It's because sadly, this run has a lot of flaws. That damn fence cut will forever be my downfall. I will say though, I'm super proud of the fact that I learned how to achieve consistent 31 laps. I've always had a lot of love for Nina's. It was once hands down my favourite track in the game. But now, I'd have to say, I don't know. The Speed Ghost is a lot of fun, but I haven't even done any polls with tech since completing this run. If I'm totally honest, I don't really intend to any time in the near future. But who knows? Maybe someday you'll see me return and push this as far as I can. Number 3, Jungle Boogie. This time came out of absolute nowhere. I was lost trying to decide what track to play and chose this one because it's such a short track. I never liked Boogie till doing this, mainly because I didn't understand it. The sub was originally the goal, but when I realised I had potential to push this a lot further, I decided to see how far I could go. My one setback on this track is that I don't know how to do the final shortcut, but the rest of this track I'm very confident with. After getting a 53 times in a row, I decided I would settle for the next PB I got. I proceeded to get a 50 7 more times. I was thrilled to finally get the 40, which could have been a lot better had I not choked the exit of the bridge shortcut lap 3, but still, this stands as one of my best times. Number 2, Tiny Arena. To fully understand just how much this sub meant to me, I would have to take you back to when I first started playing CTR. Not the remake, the original. I never played Tiny Arena even from the original because I hated it so much. The remake was no different. I found this track so boring and I never played it or watched anyone else time trial it, so I never understood how to go faster. My change of heart came from the first time I saw a professional time trial Tiny Arena. I realised that it actually looked kind of fun. Since Tiny Arena was one of the hardest dev times for me, I had a lot of work to do. Over the time span of about 6 months, I managed to get my time down to a 2:49. At the end of last year, I returned for the 2:48, but a 2:48 still wasn't enough for me. I proceeded to play the track every day for months and honestly loved every day of it. Till eventually I arrived at a 2:48.07, but I put so much pressure on myself to finally get the sub, I got too anxious that I couldn't play the track anymore. The 2:48.07 sat there for 3 months till eventually I returned to finish what I started. Crossing that line to see a 2:47 meant every bit as much to me as it did the 6 months prior when I first started the journey. Number 1, Sewer Speedway. This one I give full credit to my friend Sajumi. I never would have gotten this without you. If there were 5 tracks in the game I never would have expected to get my best run on, Sewer Speedway would have been one of those 5. If we go back even 1 month ago, I had no idea how to do the half-pipe speed ghost. In fact, I didn't even understand how to enter the shortcut slow or fast. I was fortunate enough to be taught these things by one of the best Sewer Speedway time trialers in the world. Once I had understanding of how to play the track, it was a lot of fun. When I first got the sub, I was determined to lower it even further. The 93 came the next session, it was perfect. The driving was better and there still were no good speed ghosts. I streamed my next session. About 20 minutes in, I start putting a few nice runs together, till eventually I make lap 3. I know if I can pull off a great speed ghost lap 3, the 8x is a certainty, and on this particular run, I got it. When I crossed the finish line, I was so incredibly proud of myself and everything I've achieved in CTR, and so thankful to all the players I've met along the way. So to close this video out, I just want to say one final thank you and congratulations to all CTR players on a great year of time trials and racing. And I hope your achievements brought you as much joy as mine gave me.